Hello everyone, this is Goosebumps Godzilla, and today I'm going to be talking about how Mr. Toggle, the main antagonist from Piano Lessons Can Be Murder, is not actually a villain, but I would say more of a good guy, but just for argument's sake, I would say he's neutral. He's not actually the main antagonist of the book. He never cut off his students' hands or anything like that. So, viewer beware, you're in for a scare, and let's get started with this video. Okay, so before I continue, I just want to say that there are going to be major spoilers for the 13th Goosebumps book, Piano Lessons Can Be Murder, so if you have not read this book, then I would strongly advise you to turn back now, because I'm basically going to be going over some major plot points for the book. So, without further ado, guys, let's get into this theory for today. Okay, so, just in case you don't know the plot for Piano Lessons Can Be Murder and you still want to watch this video, I'll just go over a short thing for the plot. So basically, there's this kid named Jerry, who moves into this new house that includes an old piano. Eventually he wants to take piano lessons, due to him getting this new item, so his parents and his dad, I guess, take him to this piano school called the Shriek School, where he's taught by a mysterious Santa Claus-esque man named Dr. Shriek. And so Dr. Shriek is a pretty normal teacher, it seems like, from the book at this point that I'm talking about. I mean, the only weird thing about him, though, is that he constantly comments about Jerry's beautiful hands. And that's pretty much it. Just normal stuff going on-ish. But then also during the same time, he's constantly being warned by a ghost who's coming out of his piano not to go to the Shriek School, which is where he's taking piano lessons. So eventually he gets so sick of the ghost attacking him and stuff like that, that he decides to quit the Shriek School, but his parents want him to leave formally, so he goes to the school for one last lesson. When he tells Dr. Shriek that he's going to leave, this makes him enraged, so he chases Jerry throughout the school, constantly yelling that he wants Jerry's hands, because his hands just don't work like they used to, or something like that. So he chases him throughout the school, and then they run into this room. And so this room is basically a room full of pianos, and at every piano there are basically hands that are levitating by himself. You know, they're detached hands playing the piano with no body attached to them. And so it's a pretty creepy scene in that book, probably the most entertaining part of the book. But then, just when Dr. Shriek is about to get the main protagonist in this eerie piano room, Mr. Toggle, who's basically supposedly the janitor of the school, comes to Jerry's rescue, and in a shocking turn of events, it is revealed that Dr. Shriek is a robot. So, anyway, Mr. Toggle turns off Dr. Shriek using a remote control, and he also turns off the music all around him with the remote control and the hands and stuff like that. So anyway, then it's revealed, though, that the actual evil person, supposedly, in this book is actually Mr. Toggle, and he tries to take Jerry's hands, but before he can do so, he's attacked by an army of ghosts, supposedly the ghosts of his students that he had cut off their hands and supposedly killed. And so they attack Mr. Toggle and take him away to an unknown fate. And of course, Jerry quits taking piano lessons. And so, yeah, that's pretty much the entire book for Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. Overall, I don't really like it. I mean, it's sort of like a mediocre Goosebumps book. I really like the title. I really like some of the plot points in here. But it just takes a little while to get there. But it's really entertaining at some certain points, so definitely a really good Goosebumps book. But anyway, so in this video, though, I'm trying to prove that Mr. Toggle's not actually the main antagonist of the book. He he wasn't really trying to take off Jerry's hands. He wasn't responsible for taking off the hands of the ghosts in Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. So guys, let's get into this theory. So in order to prove Mr. Toggle's innocence, I have to prove that those hands in the piano room weren't actually real hands, but were actually fake hands, possibly robotic hands and stuff like that. Okay, so we can see in Piano Lessons Can Be Murder that Mr. Toggle's real goal was to just create beautiful music with hands, but hands are too complex, too many parts and stuff like that. But there is a problem to this statement that he said at the end of the book, which could possibly mean it's a prank or a joke or something like that. Because you can see, from just science and stuff like that, that the brain is the most complicated part of the body, not the hands. In It's Alive, It's Alive, for example, the main protagonist and the main protagonist's friend, created Francine, who has fully working hands. So his excuse about the hands is kind of strange, first off, and the fact that he would murder people just to make beautiful music is strange, second off. And so, just logic doesn't make sense for this. Because hands are not that complex for him to make. He created a Dr. Shriek who pretty much has a mind of his own. And the brain's the most complex part of the body, so I think it'd be really easy for him to make hands. So that confession's automatically disproven to possibly be false, and the whole hand thing is kind of strange. Also, just proving that these hands are real is the fact that in one part in the book, well, near the end, he flips a switch and the hands stop playing. This could possibly mean that these hands are robotic, but maybe, he plants a chip inside the hands to make them playing, so it's not solid evidence, but it's still a factor. Also, you can see in Piano Lessons Can Be Murder cover, it shows the hands, and honestly, these hands do not look that realistic. Maybe, they're just trying to tone it down so it won't be really scary, but maybe it's intentional to show that these hands aren't real and they're probably robotic. Also, you can see from all the promotional art for Piano Lessons Can Be Murder and stuff like that, that the hands aren't even hands, but they're gloves, it seems like. So, I think overall that these hands are not real hands due to the fact that he flipped them off with the switch. On the cover art, the hands do not look realistic, and on the promotional art, they do not honestly look like they've got any hands over them, and they look just like gloves. They just look like gloves. Also, further evidence is from Dr. Shriek in the Goosebumps television episodes. The television episodes are to be taken with a grain of salt since they did make a couple of differences to the book, and so they're not straight off adaptations. But you can see that the hand isn't real due to all these electrical wires and stuff like that sticking out of Dr. Shriek's hand when his hand was yanked off in the episode. So it seems overall that Mr. Toggle does not use real hands. But then you might think, what about the ghosts? The ghosts have stumps on their hands and stuff like that. But I think this was maybe a stunt done by the main actual antagonist of the book that I'm going to talk about later. And so you can see this in the way the ghosts behave and stuff like that. First off is the fact that the ghosts attacked Mr. Toggle when they attacked Mr. Toggle. So Mr. Toggle supposedly, according to this book, cut off the hands to his students and killed them, I guess you could say. And so there's a slight problem to this. How come the ghosts waited until they attacked Jerry before they, did whatever they did to him, like took him away and attacked him and stuff like that? It seemed like after he killed them and stuff like that, they would go after him. And, it just doesn't make sense how they didn't attack him before. They say, like, oh, you tried to attack the boy, so now you'll be punished. But, he pretty much killed them and took off their hands. And now they're gonna attack them. Maybe they're just good-hearted ghosts, but at least one of them. There is a multitude of ghosts according to the book, so, I mean, at least one of them would attack him, right? I mean, it seems like. Also, there's a slight problem with the story of the book, and that is the fact that the ghost that supposedly keeps telling Jerry to stay away from the Shriek School can still play piano. They say that Jerry keeps hearing the sad tune floating around, so he goes up to investigate, and that's where he finds the ghost. But the ghost doesn't have any hands, so how exactly is it playing the piano? Also, further evidence of the fact that Dr. Shriek didn't attack or kill any of these ghosts is from the fact that the Shriek School isn't shut down. Their last sighting would probably be in the Shriek School, correct? So the fact that they're never seen is kind of strange, you know, like, they never get investigated, they never find the room with the hands, like, there's nothing. And also, there's the fact that he's rich, pretty much, since he has all these robotic parts and stuff like that, or possibly funded by the government or something like that. So, you know, it just doesn't make sense that it's not strange that all these students keep disappearing in school. So, they probably didn't get killed. Also, there's something strange about the ghosts. So, you know, in normal ghosts, things go right through. We can see that the majority of the ghosts in Goosebumps are similar to this. Most notably, Hannah Fairchild from The Ghost Next Door. Something went straight through her when she realized she was a ghost and stuff like that. So, these ghosts should be similar, but they are not. They basically grab Mr. Toggle and stuff like that. So, they're maybe the same ghosts as from Ghost Camp. The ghosts from Ghost Camp are more of not, you know, your ghosts that float around. They actually walk, and you can physically touch them and stuff like that. So, possibly they could be the same type as the ones from Ghost Camp. But the ones in Ghost Camp have a slight disability. They can only leave the area. They can't leave the area that they died. And so, if this book is correct, and they did die in the Shriek School and stuff like that, how come, you know, the ghost is found in Jerry's house? So, possibly, maybe, it would make sense later that she was killed in the house, but still she wouldn't be able to leave. So, how can she physically drag away, Mr. Toggle, or something like that, if they, first off, can't even leave the area that they die? So, they either be stuck at the piano school, or they be stuck at Jerry's house. So, how do you explain this? Unless he didn't kill any of them. Okay, guys, so that's pretty much the end of my video. I know I said I would pretty much reveal who I thought was the main antagonist from the book, but YouTube will only allow me to do videos over 15 minutes long, so I can't really go into all the detail that I really want to in this video. Maybe I'll do a part 2, but that's pretty much the end of my video. But I just wanted to tell you who I actually think is the main antagonist from the book, and that is Dr. Shriek. There is some resounding evidence that he is the main villain, but I can't really talk about it because, you know, I can only do videos for 15 minutes long, so sorry about that, guys, but I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Comment down below who you think is the main antagonist from Piano Lessons Can Be Murdered. Do you think it's Mr. Toggle? Do you think it's Dr. Shriek? Do you think it's the ghosts or something like that? Or do you think the ghosts are fake, or, you know, all that stuff? So, anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, but that is the end.